I'm Jim Rosenfield. Eyewitness News is next. Tonight, the end of the road for the Bulls as the bad boys from Detroit shatter Chicago's dreams of entering the NBA Finals. While Bulls fans try to keep a stiff upper lip, we'll have complete coverage.
I'm Sylvia Perez. Also tonight, a 4-year-old child is clinging to life after another hit-and-run accident in Chicago. And the Superpower Summit comes to an end. 2 presidents agreeing it was a success, but that differences still remain. Details next on Eyewitness News.
Right now, during the Nissan After Nissan celebration, we've got great deal after great deal on our cars and trucks, like the 300ZX Turbo, Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year, or the 240SX, the affordable sports car. Very nice. Or you can make your best deal on one of the 30 other models we've got. That's a lot of cars and trucks, which means you could have a problem deciding just which one you want. But this event won't last long, so you better hurry to your Nissan dealers now. That way you'll have plenty of time to make up your mind. Nissan after Nissan after Nissan. So many cars, so little time. I want that first one.
The Cubs are proud to host the best in baseball. It's the 1990 All-Star Game, July 10th at Wrigley Field.
Don't just imagine delicious Carson's ribs sizzling in their tangy, mouth-watering sauce. Enjoy them at home today. Dial Carson's now and your complete rib dinner will be ready in no time. Carson's, the place for ribs. Dial 312-CARSONS.
Jeopardy celebration number 2, the Par 5.
Who is Sandy Koufax? Yes, give me
Jeopardy, the most fun you can have with your brain.
Weekdays at 3:30.
This is Eyewitness News with Sylvia Perez, Jim Rosenfield, Mark Shanowski for Brad Palmer on sports, Andy Avalos with weather, and the Eyewitness News team.
Good evening, everyone. The Bulls are finished for the season tonight after fighting it out to the final game of their playoff series with the...
You don't have to be a basketball expert to figure out why the Bulls lost today. They shot just 31% from the field, and you just don't beat the world champions in their own building shooting like that. It was a great defensive performance by the Pistons today as they retained their Eastern Conference crown. Final score 93-74. The Bulls nursed a 19-17 lead into the second quarter, but then Detroit turned up the heat on defense. They forced Michael Jordan into a turnover, and Joe Dumars scores on the other end to get the Palace crowd back in the game. Aside from Jordan, no one did much for the Bulls offensively. Bill Cartwright is snuffed, and Detroit heads the other way. Mark Aguirre had 15 off the bench as the Bulls come up short again in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think it was more or less the pressure, nervousness, experience, being in a 7th game, game away from the finals. Nobody except for probably Bill Cartwright has been in that position before on that team, on this team, and the experience killed us.
Jordan led all scorers with 31 points today, but he got very little help. Scottie Pippen was troubled by a migraine headache. He had only 2 points. That's about 16 less than his playoff average. That was a big part of the story. We'll have lots more in sports, including a complete highlight package from Jim Rose. But that's it for now. Mark Shanowski, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Jim and Sylvia?
Okay, thanks a lot, Mark.
There is other news to report this evening. A search is on for a hit-and-run driver who left a 4-year-old child critically injured on the southwest side last night. As Keith Bromley reports, the youngster suffered severe head injuries.
Family members were still keeping vigil late this afternoon outside Cook County Hospital, where 4-year-old Luis Garcia was still fighting for his life. The young boy was run down by a hit-and-run driver around 6 o'clock yesterday evening as he and several relatives were crossing Kildare Street just a few houses down from his home.
As he reached the curve, we looked to see if there was any cars coming, and we seen that there was a car coming pretty fast. So we called him, and instead of coming back, he went forward, and I tried to run to get him, and it was too late because the car was coming too fast, and it hit him. It threw him to the side, and he hit a parked car, and he fell halfway underneath it.
Witnesses say following the accident, the car never stopped. In fact, they say it actually sped up, apparently in an attempt to get away.
My son's mother started screaming. And then he saw the car and he tried to chase him all the way to the 34th Street.
The car just took off. We tried to get the plates, but he was going so fast and that the tires were burning rubber, the smoke and everything. We couldn't get a clear plate number.
Luis was rushed here to Cook County Hospital where he remained in a coma overnight. He regained consciousness late this morning, but remained in critical condition with serious head injuries.
It was critical. The doctor said he was going to die or become mental retarded. So we were pretty worried. As a matter of fact, we were hysterical.
But the prognosis has changed considerably overnight.
Definitely. He's doing a lot better now.
Still, relatives say the prognosis could just as easily have gone the other way. And they say they still can't understand how anyone could run down a child in the street and just drive away as if nothing had happened. Keith Bromery, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And police describe the hit-and-run vehicle as a bronze or gold four-door 1972 Chevy Malibu. Sylvia?
Tonight, Aurora police are hunting drive-by shooters who wounded 3 youngsters last night. One burst of gunfire in the 1000 block of Kane in the western suburb hit a 16-year-old boy in the left knee and his 9-year-old sister in the left hand. Both were treated at a local hospital and released, as was the third victim, a 10-year-old girl shot in the right arm. She was at home in the 700 block of Fulton. Police suspect gang members, but do not know if the shootings are linked. In other news, Governor Thompson has declared 10 counties disaster areas in east and central southeastern Illinois following a trail of twisters last night that killed 1 person in Illinois and at least 8 others in Indiana. More than 130 were injured. The state of emergency has been declared in central and south Indiana as well. The twisters downed trees, knocked out power lines, and destroyed at least 150 homes and businesses throughout central and south Indiana, as this home video shows.
It's right back.
Yeah, she's calling her mom.
That Bob Miller didn't come out here. They're sitting in there watching the ball game.
Are you getting the knees?
Yeah.
One local said some of the town of Petersburg, Indiana, looked like a war zone. Tornadoes also hit Ohio, Michigan, and Kentucky. Jim?
In Washington, Presidents George Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev concluded their 4-day summit today by calling it a success. This morning, they appeared together at a White House news conference, and they admitted that despite the agreements they signed, differences do remain. But they said they achieved an important spirit of cooperation.
I think it's a mark of how far the U.S.-Soviet relationship has come, that in all our exchanges, whether about issues on which we agreed or disagreed, the spirit of candor and openness, a desire not just to understand, but to build bridges, shone through.
The constructive spirit of these days, the spirit of responsibility, in which we discussed all questions, have made our success possible. And that's very important, because that has a stabilizing effect on the entire international situation at a time when
Gorbachev invited President Bush to visit the Soviet Union, and he warned Israel he might suspend exit permits for Soviet Jews if they settle on the West Bank or Gaza Strip. The presidents disagreed on Lithuania and Germany, and Mr. Bush said the Germans will make the decision whether to be in the NATO alliance. President Gorbachev then flew from Washington to Minnesota's Twin Cities, where he delighted crowds by leaping from his limousine and walking nearly 2 blocks to the governor's mansion. Gorbachev's frantic 7-hour visit to Minnesota will be highlighted by talks with more than 140 top U.S. business leaders. A trip to a dairy was canceled because of bad weather. Gorbachev is scheduled to arrive at his last U.S. stop, San Francisco, late tonight.
In Beijing, hundreds of students marched defiantly for freedom last night on the first anniversary of China's crackdown on the pro-democracy movement. Several students were arrested, and some citizens and Western reporters were reportedly roughed up. Most of the capital remained calm, with large numbers of paramilitary troops armed with automatic weapons manning roadblocks. It was the largest show of force since martial law was lifted in the capital on January 11th. And here in the Chicago area, hundreds of Chinese and their supporters turned out today in Chicago to commemorate those who fell victim to the military in the Battle of Tiananmen Square. They demonstrated in front of the Chinese consulate. Senator Paul Simon was on hand to give them moral support.
It is important that the United States stand for freedom, whether it is in Lithuania, whether it is in China, wherever it is. And we are not, unfortunately, at this point, sending a strong enough signal for freedom.
Later, the demonstrators held a memorial gathering at the Chicago Circle campus where they heard from Illinois Senator Alan Dixon. Similar rallies were held in New York, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco.
Some very windy conditions in the Chicago area. Andy Avalos with details and the complete forecast when we come back.
Not 3, not 2, but 1. One coat Hammerite means you don't need a primer or an undercoat, and there's no unsightly rust. Sorry, Marvin. Just one generous coat stops rust on gates, garden furniture, swings, bikes, cars, oil rigs, and gives a tough hammered finish. Hammerite comes in 14. Thank you, Marvin. Attractive colors plus...
Recently, Four Wheeled Off-Road magazine took this year's 4x4 of the Year winner and all the past winners and conducted a head-to-head showdown to determine the best of the best. So who won? Who do you think? There are a lot of 4x4s out there, but there's only one Jeep.
Get $1,000 cash back on Jeep Cherokee. See your Chicagoland Jeep and Eagle dealer today.
What's the advantage of buying at my factory-authorized Lazy Boy showcase shops? We have the largest selection, every style, every fabric, plus free delivery. Lazy Boy, quality home furnishings for over 60 years. A great chair at a great deal for Father's Day. This Lazy Boy recliner with free swivel, just $2.99. Sleepers and sofas with matching love seat from $6.99. All this, and we deliver everything free. I want you to be happy. If not, return it within 5 days. I'm Chuck Forsey. You've got my number.
A thrill for students at Lakeview High School today. Their history project turned into a museum exhibit. Student in Dr. Shirley Bauer's history class appeared at the Field Museum today. They performed skits explaining the squares they each contributed to a freedom quilt now on display at the museum. Each square represents a period of history from Egyptian times to slavery.
Very pretty. It's a good day to be indoors. It wasn't so great out here, and we had that bad weather, too, throughout the state.
Yeah, it's been brutal around here for the last 24 hours. In fact, most of the Midwest has had some pretty bad weather in the last 24 hours. We mentioned earlier the severe tornado outbreak throughout portions of the Midwest. The areas hardest hit, actually Illinois and Indiana. More than 100 tornadoes reported throughout the areas yesterday. And in fact, 54 tornadoes in the state of Indiana alone, and 22 of those tornadoes in Illinois. 7 people reported killed and 137 injured with those tornadoes in Indiana. Illinois fared a little better, but not much. 1 person killed, 2 others injured. So when the severe weather alert goes up, pay attention. It means business. Well, the secondary front associated with this powerful low pressure system came through today, and boy, did it kick up a mess. Here's a scene of what it looked like earlier. You're asking yourself, where did all this dust come from? Actually, this is topsoil from the farmers out to the west. As they plow their fields, all of that dust is picked up by the wind. It's erosion, and it's blown throughout the area. It has been a mess. So in the rural areas, it was much worse, but downtown was no picnic either. And at least the rains came a little later on in the afternoon, and that helped at least with the dust, but it's still really windy out there and will be for a while yet. So if you're thinking about going out and about this evening, you will be wind whipped, so brace yourself. Partly cloudy skies and quite cool conditions, down to 52 for the temperature as you head out. O'Hare 55, Midway 58, the Lakefront 55. West winds at 26, gusting to 37. We've had wind gusts over 50 miles an hour today. The barometer now rising in the wake of that storm, humidity at 53%. The high temperature today officially at O'Hare actually made it to 71. Last night's low 55. The normal 76 and 54. Last year's high was only 66. The record high for this day, however, 95. The record low, nothing we'll see tonight at 37. Sunset this evening at 8:21. Well, as we take a look at the Midwest satellite picture, there's still plenty of clouds throughout the area, and you can see the circulation associated with this big storm system, which will continue to pull to the northeast, but it's a powerful storm for this time of year, and the winds are really kicking up with this system. Here's that secondary cold front that came through about 2 o'clock. Temperatures on the backside of this front primarily in the 50s now. In advance of that, warm, humid air, 70s and 80s. We won't see any of that for a little while. Precipitation now, here are the showers and thunderstorms that came through our area, actually heavier now off to the southeast. Still some more here, but again, all of this is moving out, so things will be improving. The clear skies back here will be in here for tomorrow. In fact, high pressure will dominate into the plains today and be here, and we'll get rid of our very windy and much cooler conditions tomorrow, so things will improve, I promise. This area of high pressure you see here will settle in over the area for us tomorrow and bring with it some much, much better conditions. Forecast map for tomorrow shows the sunshine here. Here's our forecast in detail, starting with tonight's conditions. We'll have diminishing winds, clearing skies. It'll be quite cool, down to 44. Tomorrow, a great day, mostly sunny, pleasantly cool, a high of 65, but only in the 50s along the lakefront. Fair and cool tomorrow night, 46 for the overnight low. And Tuesday, partly sunny, breezy, a little warmer, a comfortable high of 72 and cooler along the lakefront. The 5-day outlook shows that trend continuing. Temperatures right around the mid-70s. Not bad this upcoming week. After a brutal weekend, it looks a lot better tomorrow.
This is June in Chicago.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Andy.
As you may know, this weekend, Channel 7 televised the 7th annual Children's Miracle Network Telethon, and there were some familiar faces there. Sylvia was one of many Eyewitness News anchors and reporters who participated. The telethon was hosted by Channel 7's Janet Davies and Steve Deschler. It kicked off at 10:30 last night and continued until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Nationwide proceeds benefit 160 U.S. and Canadian hospitals, and this year, Chicago area pledges total about $1.5 million.
Good job of calling those pledges
to everyone.
In. Yes. And still ahead, Bulls fans stick with their team to the bitter end.
The pure, clear reproduction of an image. In big screen video, there is one master. To those who have turned over every stone trying to find a large selection of Mitsubishi, we present this master. And right now, Highland is offering all Mitsubishi products with no payments and no interest till January 1991. So if you're looking for Mitsubishi, can you afford not to look at Highland?
C'est magnifique, un miracle.
We interrupt this refreshing moment for a message of historic and even prehistoric importance. Perrier is back.
C'est magnifique.
Perrier, Earth's first soft drink, is back.
Darryl, didn't you just sell Jim here a Lincoln Continental?
Sure did.
Well, it says here the Cadillac DeVille is sticker priced $1,800 less than Lincoln Continental. It says here a 3-year-old Cadillac DeVille retained a higher percentage of its original value. And it says here when you buy a new Cadillac DeVille, you can get $1,500 cash back, direct from Cadillac.
Ooh, I've got to be going.
Hold it, Darryl. You still got a shave coming.
Unlike our competition's elaborate packaging, you'll find no box inside the Budget Gourmet box. You'll find no bags. And you'll find no plates. Because these things cost money. Money we'd rather spend on the one thing you will find inside our box. Our food. The Budget Gourmet and the Budget Gourmet Light. Expensive food at reasonable prices.
Catch the weekend sports highlights when Michael Jordan joins Channel 7's Jim Rose on Eyewitness Sports Final. Tonight after Eyewitness News.
Well, this is a tough day for Bulls fans. After a season filled with victory, it all came down to just one game. The pundits said the Bulls wouldn't win, but as Paul Mikey found, fans didn't give up hope until the very end.
There was no joy in Mudville this afternoon, at least not after the first quarter. Witnesses to blowouts sometimes chew their swizzle sticks to death in unwitting acts of frustration. Others just stay silent. The only people cheering here at Harry Carey's restaurant this afternoon were Detroit fans who, by virtue of their team's commanding lead, had been freed to show their enthusiasm. But hope springs eternal, and with 6 minutes left and down by 11, some Bulls fans still figured the odds weren't all that bad.
Hopefully they'll come off right here within the last 6 minutes and pull something out.
Force and sink some threes. It takes some enthusiasm on the part of the people who get paid millions of dollars. I mean, you know, it's an anything goes situation, man.
Defense! It's over.
There was no last-minute barrage of threes, and the Bulls simply sank for lack of points, and a lot of them, not enthusiasm.
It isn't really the classic Chicago choke because they weren't expected to win.
I think they've done the best they could. I think it was a good season for them.
Chicago's good, and Jordan's the best that's ever played a game, but when the Pistons click, nobody can beat them. I don't care what anybody says.
And so the Pistons must now prove that again for one last series in quest of the championship. And the Bulls retire to the off-season, mindful that the glory of this day clearly belongs to the Motor City. Paul Mikey, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And Jim Rose and Mark Shanowski are both in Detroit. We'll hear how the teams are reacting later in sports, and I guess I can bet how they're reacting.
Ah, yes, the Bulls hang up their shoes for the season. We'll have comprehensive coverage from our sports team when we come back.
Take away the names and take away the pretty pictures.
temperatures. And you've got 2 not-from-concentrate orange juices that look alike. But don't let looks fool you. In a blind nationwide taste test, more people said Fresh and Natural brand tasted closer to Fresh Squeeze than Tropicana Pure Premium. Taste it and see. Next to new Fresh and Natural, others pale in comparison.
Chicken sounds good.
Dieting?
Just trying to eat right.
At Baker Square, we serve the finest skinless marinated chicken breast, grilled fresh.
Ooh, now this is eating right.
Chicken avocado sandwich, chicken mixed grill, chicken breast salad, 10 unique entrees.
So, if you're eating right, where's the fruit?
Right here.
Baker Square. Come for the food, stay for the pie.
Joe's so great with the kids. He's like a big kid himself. 2 whole weeks away from work. I'm so proud of myself. I found the Ramada 4-for-1 program. All 4 of us can stay for the price of 1.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your stay.
So great to stay someplace nice without paying too much. Nice room, restaurant, swimming pool, everything we want. Now, how can I spend the money we're saving?
Ramada, 800-228-2828.
There's a crisis situation at River Oaks Toyota.
We have a problem.
With car and truck inventories dangerously high and more shipments coming, there is no alternative.
Crash the price.
It's a price crash at the Toyota warehouse. Tercels $199 down or $99 a month. Save up to $5,000 on a Toyota. 2-wheel drive trucks $199 down or $99 a month. Take advantage of major savings while you can. Take 159 east off the Calumet Expressway, Calumet City. River Oaks Toyota, the Toyota warehouse. Don't miss the crash.
Well, the Bulls have a long time to think about what happened.
Jim, you're right. They did go 1 game farther this year than they did last year. And if they want to go farther next year, they're going to need some help at guard and at center, a little maturity from Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. I can't believe Scottie Pippen only scored 2 points today. B.J. Armstrong and Craig Hodges didn't have it going. Bill Cartwright went on vacation. The bottom line is basketball is a team game. They have yet to figure out a way for one man to win a playoff series, even when that one man is the greatest player of all time. Mark Shanowski live in Detroit, and it's wait till next year, Mark, but there's hope for the future.
That's true, Tim. You know, we've heard commentators in the past kiddingly refer to the Bulls as Michael and the Jordanaires. And unfortunately, in the most important game of the year, they reverted back to that form. Jordan got no help today. He had 31 points. Horace Grant had 10, but after that, that was about it. Still early on, it looked like the Bulls might knock off the world champions. Unfortunately, the Pistons eventually found their shooting eye, and the Bulls did not. The result, a season-ending 93-74 loss. Jim Rose is flying back on his way to Chicago right now, but he's got the game story for us coming up.
Game 7 produces a lot of emotion in a professional athlete, but for the Pistons, the first quarter was a case of being tight. For Chicago, the first quarter is a matter of not listening to the crowd. Horace Grant blocked the fans out and recovered this rebound, feeds Craig Hodges for the 3. Bulls led 19-17 after 1. Detroit used the second period for a wake-up call. The Pistons put together an 11-point run, capped by Mark Aguirre's finger roll. By halftime, Detroit led by 15.
The Bulls had 2 problems in the first half. Michael Jordan's wrist was hurting him, so he wasn't shooting the ball much, and Scottie Pippen was suffering from double vision.
It was something that, I tried to play through, and, things just didn't work out for me. I was dealing with them yesterday, and, I thought that last night I had got over it, and this morning I was feeling fine until, I came out and warmed up.
Detroit, meanwhile, blasted out of the blocks in the third period. When Isaiah Thomas made this 3-pointer, the Pistons led 61-39. The Bulls put together a brief comeback when Michael Jordan hit this shot to cut the Piston lead to 11. But late in the final period, Isaiah Thomas feeds John Sally, and for the 3rd straight year, Detroit goes to the NBA Finals.
My feelings, naturally I'm disappointed. I love to be where they are right now, and just what meant to be. It's still, we're still within a learning process, and we came a game away from being where they are, and there's nothing left for us to do, actually, but to look forward to next year and try to overcome the same situations and take it a little bit further.
For the first time in their history, the Detroit Pistons have won a 7th game and will advance to the World Championships to try to repeat the championship they won last year against the Lakers. For the Chicago Bulls, it's back to the drawing board. But you don't win a 7th game by shooting 31% from the field. And now it's on to the June draft, where the Bulls will try to strengthen their roster with better players. Jim Rose, Channel 7 Eyewitness News from the Palace of Auburn Hills.
While the Bulls were certainly disappointed at yet another near miss in the playoffs, the atmosphere in the Detroit locker room was also pretty subdued. The Pistons have been in the finals before, and they know their work isn't finished yet. Isaiah Thomas says it's the experience factor that really made the difference in this series.
You know, it was a big game for Chicago, but I don't think it was as big a game for us. I think emotionally they came out, and maybe their youth and their inexperience showed. But when you played in the NBA Finals the last 2-3 years, and you played in the situations that we've been under against Boston and everybody else, you know, today's game, you know, it was another game for us during the playoffs, because when we got into the Eastern Conference Finals the last couple of years, and in the finals, every game has more or less been the 7th game for us.
Any parting words from the Bulls?
See ya. Nice to know you. I got one. I'd rather see you than be you.
For the Bulls, there's talk of trying to acquire another veteran player or two to help out next season. And based on what we saw today, the Bulls could use some more experience off the bench. It might be a good idea to try to pick up another veteran. From the Palace, Mark Shanowski, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Tim, back to you.
All right, Mark, thanks, and nice job. And I tell you, John Sally still looks like Bart Simpson to me. Well, don't have a cow, man. The Bulls season is finished, but the Cubs are going to be finished pretty soon unless they can get it together. Don Zimmer's men dropped 2 out of 3 in St. Louis this weekend. They've now lost 9 of their last 13, and the Cardinals ran wild today in the base paths. Vince Coleman stole not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times. Ozzie Smith for 3. They had 8 steals on Kevin Blankenship, who wasn't holding anybody on. And as he tries to intentionally walk somebody, he overthrows Joe Girardi. Coleman takes off and scores, and the Cardinals lead it 2-0. The Cardinals then scored 5 in the 3rd. Milt Thompson triples to right to score Terry Pendleton, who looks like he's carrying a piano on his back as he rounds the bases. Come on, get the lead out, Terry. The Cards go on to win at 7-4. The Cubs and Cards are tied for last place, and now the Cubs will be off to Atlanta. New York lost to Philadelphia. The Phillies' Lenny Dykstra was 3 for 4. He's now batting .413. Montreal over Pittsburgh. Houston's beating San Francisco. Cincinnati and LA are still going at it. San Diego and Atlanta are tied. And in the American League, Oakland lost, so the Sox are 2.5 out. They'll play the Twins tonight. Baltimore over New York. It's Milwaukee losing to Toronto. Boston's Roger Clemens is the American League's first 9-game winner, and Detroit and Seattle are still at it. Detroit trying to get revenge for last night because they were no-hit by 6'10" Randy Johnson. Johnson did walk 6 Tigers, but he struck out 8, including Mike Heath to end the game. This was the first no-hitter of Randy Johnson's professional career. He did throw one in American Legion ball. When you're 6'10" tall, you're a little intimidating out there. Mike Heath, a swing and a miss and a no-hitter for Seattle's Randy Johnson, the first no-hitter in Seattle history. And this afternoon in Milwaukee, this race was preempted here in Chicago because the Children's Network Telethon, but you'll see it tonight at 11 o'clock. If you don't want to see the finish, turn it off right now, but it's exciting, folks, so maybe you better watch it. Michael Andretti ran out of gas, and he is furious in the pits, but Al Unser Jr. comes around and he wins on the very last lap of the Milwaukee 200. There it is, Al Unser Jr., the winner. As I repeat, it'll be shown tonight at 11 o'clock on Channel 7. And this is the French Open. Men's champion Michael Chang, the defending champion, beat Javier Sanchez of Spain in straight sets. Chang moves on to the quarterfinals. And in the women's, it's Jennifer Capriati beating Mercedes Paz of Argentina. Mercedes knocked out Arantxa Sanchez earlier. Jennifer Capriati becomes the youngest person to ever make a Grand Slam quarterfinal.
Wow.
More on the Bulls tonight at 10.
She just keeps moving on.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Warner Brothers rededicated its studio this weekend with a gala party that was done Hollywood style, of course. Warner Brothers stars past and present made up part of the guest list, included former President Reagan, who has starred in more Warner movies than any living actor. Many classic movies have come from Warner, and as part of the celebration, the studio recreated some of the more lavish numbers. The Warner family recently reclaimed the lot, which had been renamed the Burbank Studios.
That's our news for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you tonight at 10.